Okay, back with you on the Bronx Buzz. We thank Howie Carpin for his great insight into the world of baseball. We check in with him at the beginning of every baseball season. But right now, we're going to switch gears and talk to a Bronx artist. And we'll say good evening to Eric Kollin. Nice to see you, Eric.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Let's just talk about you as an artist. When did you say to yourself, I like being an artist, and when wanted to do all this work?
I think this is when I was a child and just, was obsessed with comic books and cartoons. And I wanted to express that the best I can. So throughout high school, myself and friends of mine, we would copy stuff from the comics and eventually, took those skills to start expressing ourselves. So I
Hmm.
ended up going to SUNY Purchase for fine art for my first 2 years and School of Visual Arts to finish off my bachelor's degree.
And did you say to yourself, I think I'm going to be an artist for all time, or did you kind of like realize, well, it's not an easy way to get rich, so you did other work, or have you really been a full-time artist since even way back then?
Well, so the story goes that recently I'm an artist out of the closet because, I
I've
did,
never heard that expression before.
well,
I like that.
I'll explain and this will make sense, I
Okay,
hope.
we
Um,
hope.
yes. So, yeah, I graduated School of Visual Arts with friends. I took illustration. And like everybody else, I wanted to conquer the world of illustration. And my first big job was from an organization called Nobody Beats the Wiz. So this was nice stepping out of college and having a poster that was up in New York throughout
Oh,
New York
wow,
City.
that's
Yeah,
very cool.
it was throughout New York City, and in the newspapers, and it was great. And I'm thinking, okay, this is my career. This is great. But after that, it just either, and I don't know if it was my lack of maturity or business sense,
Don't
or
never admit to that. Never admit to
well, no, I mean,
that.
I have to look back and really realize what went wrong commercially.
Right.
So I also was teaching. I started teaching in the New York City Department of Education. I
And
wasn't
were you teaching artwork? Were you teaching art?
no,
Yeah,
no,
of course they laid off all the art teachers. We
no. It
know all
wasn't
the
that.
Okay.
It was too personal for me.
I
If
see.
a kid didn't want to do art, uh, if they didn't want to
That
do
was
art,
frustrating.
but if they didn't want to do social studies, which I ended up doing for 9 years, and then I ended up being a computer person after that, basically bringing technology into the Department of Education, one of 9 people going throughout the city on something called Project Smart. I didn't take that so personally.
Right, all right.
So, but I had to make a decision early on because I spent all my free time trying to make it as an illustrator, and then I spent all my other time.
So I wanna move it ahead to the
Yeah,
punchline, and the punchline is then you eventually said, "You know what? I'm an illustrator, and this is my passion, and this is my life."
well, I said I'm a teacher for 31 years, and it's only last year that I came out of the army.
All right, listen,
Got it?
it's never too late.
Yeah.
What we need to mention is that you have an exhibit going on right now
Yes.
at the Riverdale Society of Ethical Culture. Your work is different. Let's put it this way, and I'm thrilled that the world is going to get to see it, and I'm thrilled that our audience on the Bronx Buzz is going to get to see it. So, Anderson, play the magic box here. Let's take a look, and we're going to ask Eric to talk about some of his work. All right. This is a nice way to start. What is this?
Okay.
Help me here.
This was an album cover I did for a bad heavy metal band many years ago. It is.
Anderson, pop that up again. I want to look
Um,
at that again.
the kids seem to love it. I've had it on T-shirts that they've bought. It creeps me out to this day because it's really, about child endangerment and being false with a kid. So, but yeah, that's where it's at.
And
It's
and
both the cartoony stuff and the serious stuff.
how long does it take? Like, you do one every day? Does a thing like that take days and days, and then you go back to it? I mean, how long is it?
Well, back in the days, I had more free time to just see a piece through. I can do it for a week. Now, if I work on a piece once a week, I'm happy. So it may take a month or two to finish a piece.
All right, let's look at another.
Okay.
As if people didn't get it up. This is just lovely. I mean, I don't
Thank
know
you.
what
This
else
is
to tell you.
actually, I just did a black and white of this recently. That's going to be in a coloring book for an organization in Rockland County. It was part of a series I did of Mexican dancers and instrumentalists. So I did about 4 or 5 pieces, and this was my favorite actually.
Uh, do I hate to ask this question because it seems
They're all good questions.
simple, but where do you get the inspiration from? Do you walk down the block and say, "Oh, I ought to make a cartoon of the deli," or do you say, "I think I'll now do a series of musicians"? In other words, where do you get the concepts and the ideas
I
from?
think something sticks in your craw that you want to get out. And eventually, you do sketches and some things work. And when it works, it works. And that becomes the start. For example, I'm doing cat paintings now. That is where I'm at. It, there's no,
I have great sympathy for you there.
well, one walks by, you'll give a.
Yeah, okay. All right, let's take a look at another. Go ahead. And you also and let's just mention, you also have quite an imagination. Presumably, you didn't see this in the deli.
No, but I saw it in my head, and what inspired that is I had a friend who worked at the Renaissance Fair, and that was back in the day. I was able
Oh,
to actually camp out overnight there, and I got inspired. And this was before Game of Thrones and all that dragon stuff. So I did like a year or two of dragons based on just that inspiration, and that one I called Dragon on the Beach.
as far as materials, water paints, pencils, markers, or do you just kind of make it up depending on what you're working
Um,
on?
so I start out with a sketch, which could just be a sketchy line drawing.
With
Then
with a pencil kind of thing?
yeah, just a
I'm just
pen
curious.
at a
Oh.
diner, and I ended up ripping the diner
Oh,
paper and
so
taking it
so
home with me.
so when you go to the diner, you ask for the kids menu and they have the little coloring area. Okay, that's good.
Basically, that's kind of where it's at. I've ripped up plenty of menus from Italian restaurants, taking them home with me, plenty of placemats, I mean. So I take the sketch and then I develop it bigger in black and white. And you can kind of see a black and white here of a
Yeah.
painting that I'm starting now. And then it becomes an acrylic painting. I only work in acrylic, despite the fact that a lot of my work may look like watercolor.
I wonder what your dreams and nightmares are like, but that's
Well, we're not going there.
especially after staring like that dragon for a long time because it takes a little while to do it.
Well, I'll say this: that I would feel that I'm a better person because I do get it out on the canvas.
Oh, there you
So
go.
there you go.
There you go. Self-expression. All right, what's next? Let's see another. I'm not shy. I'm ready to see more. Speaking of nightmares.
Well, I don't see this as nightmare. I see it as artistic fury when it
All
comes
right,
to
fair.
music. I'm not a musician, but I get it. And
But
that's what
Anderson, put that one up again. I want to see that one again.
he's involved in his world of music, and it takes all of him from the body in the background.
Every day you put something down every day to keep yourself
I
going.
wish I had that time. I have a
Oh.
12-year-old son. It gets distracting around the house, so I can't do it every day. But I am in the middle of like two.
All right, now we're going to really do the torture part. In your mind, would you like to do it every day?
I would like to spend more time with it.
Yeah.
I think definitely clearing some space so that next year I can do that.
I have to tell you, I mean, this is what I do for a living. I could do this 24 hours a day, sit here and talk to people on TV. And I believe me, I know the frustrations that, oh, rats, I got to do something else with my life.
Well, no, I'm doing plenty of things. That's the problem.
No, I know. Believe me, I get it.
I'm involved in all sorts of stuff that this is one of the things that I get to do. This becomes the relief or the release.
All right, so let's. How many more do we got? We got one or two more. Let's see what we got. See this, I
Yeah.
like. I like this a lot.
This was done very recently, and I think it was inspired by the Me Too movement in some ways. I call it the Queen's Escape. I think its message is obvious about the Jack and the King kind of trying to exploit the Queen, and the Queen actually releasing herself from the card and finding a way out.
All right, put it up one more time, Anderson. Let's just get another look. There it is. The queen emerges from the card. Have you thought about actually doing like a full comic book and writing a story and doing that?
Not comics because I like to do single illustrations now, but if someone had a project that was a children's book type thing, an illustrated book, that I'd consider.
Right.
But
And
sequential art is different. I think that I'm not
what, say that again. What art?
sequential, where it's the story is in.
I see. Because you'd have to make the same character each time, and of
Yeah,
course, maybe in a different way or something like
right.
that. Right. And your thing is that's the image. That's the image. That's the
I
image.
want the image to tell the story on multiple levels. So
Is this exhibit at the Riverdale Society for Ethical Culture like the first time that you've seen all your work displayed somewhere?
pretty,
Or
I mean, in 30 years, I think, 35 years ago, I may have had a small exhibit somewhere. But yes, this is kind of the awakening. This is my first solo exhibit. And the pieces are still up there on the wall for people to view.
Well, what's interesting to me, and I didn't realize this, but over what is that? I lose my sense of direction. Your right or left shoulder is that card picture. Are the
Yes.
ones that you create that large? I mean, it looks like eight and
Um,
a half by 11 or
no,
even
it's
larger.
actually it's a little larger. These are prints and really, really nice prints
I
of
see.
the work. Sometimes I have to label on the back because I can't tell the difference. But this is almost the size of the original. The original is 18 by 24.
And so what I was getting at when I was asking about, was that your first exhibit? What's it like to walk in a room and see you surrounded by, in a way, and I've talked to numerous artists, all of your children. I mean, these are your kids. This is who you've given birth to, so to speak. What's
Well,
it like to walk in there and see all that?
they've been with me for a while. So for me, it's not me seeing them, but what it's like for others to see them and what reaction am I getting. Because remember, not having shown, I didn't know a year ago whether my work would be accepted, whether it was
Ah,
good compared to
well,
others. I'm still finding its audience.
listen, it's just fantastic work. You are a brilliant artist, and we are thrilled to have hosted you on the Bronx Buzz. So it's the Riverdale Society of Ethical Culture, which is on Fieldston Road up there in the Northwest Bronx, and there was an opening reception. And why don't you share where people can watch that opening reception?
Well, they can watch it on my website,
Go
Eric.
ahead.
Yeah,
Right.
erickollinart.com. There should be a link to it there. And I will post it on my social media, my Instagram, a link. It'll be, please follow me at Eric Kollin Art.
Right.
And
Eric,
yeah,
E
Eric Kollin.
R ERICKOLLIN art.com. Eric, listen, thank you so much for joining us on the Bronx Buzz. Congratulations on your work. We want to see more and more of it. Artwork in the Bronx is, core stuff. So we appreciate you and your time this evening.
And I appreciate the work that you're doing. Thank you.
Great. No problem. All right. So that will do it for the Bronx Buzz. And we want to thank Howie Carpin and his insights in baseball. Boy, he is a very important figure in Bronx baseball. And for Eric, who's an important figure in Bronx art. And that's going to be our show for the Bronx Buzz tonight. And you know what happens? Yeah, we'll see you next week. Good night.